Before we begin, thank you very much to the Desert Ruins Brawl for pitching in over on Ko-fi. Thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you for pointing out one of my favorite repaints ever. I do appreciate that. Also appreciate anyone willing to pitch in a couple bucks on Ko-fi. It's the one-time option. If you just want to treat it like a tip jar, that's what it's for. It's in the description. Always appreciated. So, we're all super excited and we're all hyping up for the 86 movies 40th anniversary. There's new toys. There's a whole run of Optimus and Rodimus, and there's a Matrix of Leadership on the way, and this is all well and cool. It's all great. However, let's not forget, it's also the 40th anniversary of another transforming robot movie, and that is the Battle of the Rock Lords, the Gobots movie. Just like everything with Gobots, they managed to hit things earlier than the Transformers did. Their toy line was out first, their cartoon was out first, and yes, their movie was out first, debuting in March and beating Transformers to the box office by roughly 5 months. So, I want to take a look at it today, just for the people who were unaware, just for a little bit of oddball to end off your week. So, let's discuss this. So, for those who are not aware, yes, Gobots Battle of the Rock Lords stars the Rock Lords, which is exactly what it says on the tin. They were Transformers as rocks, or competition Transformers as rocks. Okay, you have to understand. In 1986, you could get away with just about anything, both in Japan and in America. The trend for transforming robot toys was so enormous thanks to the Transformers' overwhelming success that pretty much anyone out there thought we could do literally anything transforming into a robot and it's going to sell. And guess what? For the most part, they were right. It was just the trend at the time, you know, like today, it's like, I shouldn't say today. Let's say last year. Last year when Labubu was all the rage, what did you find at stores? Not Labubu, dozens of different knockoffs of Labubu trying to get in on that same style and get in on that fad before it vanished. As a toy shop manager, I will tell you, no one asks me for Labubu anymore. They all ask me for Nidos and Jellycats now. I've never seen a toy line scream 1 year fad louder than Labubu, and I was right. But the point was, back then, you could get away with just selling anything. So yeah, transforming rocks. This was not Tonka's idea, by the way. This is Bandai. Like, these came out in Japan as Genseki Chojin, literally Superman rocks. So, it's a weird idea, yes, but I will admit they do throw in some fun creativity with this line. Aside from all of the rocks designs being based on like actual real world like types of rocks that you could find, everything from like your typical chunks of granite to literal gold and silver nuggets. You also had this kind of fun little like blank slate when it came to the robot modes, because there's a lot of fun ones. Like, you have some that are based more on like more traditional warriors, but you also have a lot based on monsters. Like, you have a two-headed monster, a snake monster, and some based on more traditional things. You're gonna find a rock lord that's designed to look like a yeti, another one designed to look like the creature from the Black Lagoon. You'll even find one that's designed after classic 1950s space alien creatures with a big exposed brain like the Metaluna mutant from this island Earth. That would be Marbles, by the way. I don't remember a whole lot of Rock Lord names off the top of my head. I remember Marbles. So there are fun aspects to them. Like, they're weird and quirky, but that just kind of gave them like a uniqueness at the time, aside from just turning into something as silly as a rock. And yes, they have their own movie. I will say a lot of these resources came from the Gobots wiki. Since I'm like a Transformer guy, I'm primarily pulling from Transformer places for these videos. So I want to shout out the Gobot wiki for having so much information available, and including things like the actual poster here. The first Gobots movie ever. The only Gobots movie ever. Didn't know that at the time. I will admit, artwork looks cool, and it's kind of cool that like the Rock Lords were like front and center. I will inform you, the Rock Lords are not really all that front and center in the plot. The plot still revolves around the exact same Gobots and Renegades they always use. In fact, it is literally the same three main ones. It's Leader 1, Scooter, and Turbo. It is Psykill, Crasher, and Coptor. They just use the same old regulars all the time. But credit to them, like, yeah, like they decided like a movie was the way to promote a brand new toy line, and they got that idea before Transformers did. Funny how that works. So they did try to go a little bit harder than typical GoBots did at the time, and they did that with the voice cast of the Rock Lords, because the fun thing here is like there's a diverse voice cast for Transformers just because of all the different iterations. You know, we've seen plenty of different like characters and plenty people playing like being Optimus Prime over the years, being Ultra Magnus, etc. But there's only one set of voices for the Rock Lords. And frankly, they tried to do really well. You know, Telly Savalas as Magmar, you had Roddy McDowell in there, you had Foster Brooks, you had Margot Kidder. These were not huge names in the 80s, but they were recognizable. They were still household name celebrities that do draw attention when they are in something. Very similar to how you had names like Judd Nelson and Robert Stack in the Transformers movie. The difference is the GoBots movie didn't have that one big bang, like that one person in the movie that's like, wow, they got them. In the 86 Transformer movie, that's Orson Welles. You know, because he was a way bigger star than should have been in that movie. The movie was beneath him, and he knew that. He hated being in that movie. So, plot-wise, it's not the most extravagant thing. So, while they tried to go a little bit harder on the actual voice cast, frankly, everything else about this movie does feel very same-ish as far as like GoBots fare went. You have the good Rock Lords. They didn't faction name the Rock Lords, by the way. There's just good Rock Lords and evil Rock Lords. But you had two good Rock Lords, which was Solitaire and Nugget, landing on Gobotron to ask for help, because their main villain, Magmar, not the Pokemon, but just a mean volcanic boulder dude named Magmar, he is trying to take over their planet and is getting very close to doing so. So that all has to stop immediately. So that is the plot. The GoBots do venture to the planet in order to help them out, and the Renegades follow in order to get the super weapon that Magmar is trying to put together. The super weapon is multiple scepters, these power scepters that, when together, form the Ultra Scepter, a weapon of incredible amounts of power. Power level to the point where when Psykill finally obtains it, because of course Psykill makes a power grab at the end of the movie, it's too powerful for him to handle. So this is not the most exciting of plots. I mean, it's a MacGuffin plot, because of course it is, but it really does feel like standard GoBot fare. Like, it's not really going out of its way to tell like massive story here. Though at the very least, it does take the advantage to tell a few stories that you couldn't have done in a typical GoBots episode, thanks to the new setting. The scene that always haunted me, and the one that like stuck out in my brain, was this scene, which were all these little metal leeching bugs that magnetically attach to all the GoBots. This creeped me out as a kid, and it's something you never saw in Transformers. We didn't get this until scraplets became a thing in Transformers Prime. So this is kind of haunted me. This is like the mental image I take away from the GoBots movie. You know, it's not the new characters. It's not the Ultra Scepter. It's this. It's seeing the GoBots being swarmed by a whole bunch of little beetles. It's just creepy imagery to look at. But they do take advantage of the setting a little bit more. I mean, they have the chance to show off gigantic stone dragons and dinosaurs, and they make a good fare of like giving them a menacing location for the adventure that does put the GoBots out of their element. So yeah, we're getting a little bit of fresh in the story, but that's about it. You know, it's a fresh aesthetic, but for the most part, it still just kind of feels like typical fare. And that goes for the animation quality too. You'll excuse the fuzziness of this. There is nowhere to watch this officially online to get a high quality image. You can watch the entirety of Challenge of the GoBots free on Tubi, but you cannot watch the Rock Lords movie anywhere. I searched for places I should not have been clicking in order to try and find some copy of this movie so that I could give like a full proper review. But when that is proven to be unavailable anywhere, we do what we need to do. So here we are discussing it as an overview. But you can still tell they did not up the animation budget. I'll tell you right now, the budget for this movie was supposedly around $3 million from what I can research, which really isn't all that higher than what, 3 or 4 standard episodes of the GoBots would have cost to produce. Animation ain't cheap. So to actually get a full movie in that kind of budget meant you need to just stick to what you already have. They didn't go to any more advanced studios. They didn't bring in computers. It's all just the same old Hanna-Barbera stuff. It was cheaped out because it was just meant to sell toys. And ironically, the movie kind of failed to do that at some points. So while it does show off a good number of the brand new Rock Lords, it doesn't show off all of them because there's a lot of different variations of Rock Lords that never made it into said movie. But they put in what they could, including this guy. This is Jawbone, except in the movie he's referred to as Fossil Lord. Now, in the movie that's just to say he's an older robot. However, he actually does transform into the jawbone, or rather the head, of a fossil dinosaur, and that was going to be Fossil Lord. What you're looking at is the coolest toy we never got in the 80s. It was a giant transforming character who actually did have a planned release for the US. Now, you've probably seen the Japanese version floating about. That was the blue and purple one that also has like armor that could clip onto it. Yeah, we didn't get any of that. They didn't do that. So instead, we were going to get this one where everyone was in the same bone yellow color that looked like fossilized bone. And that would have been really, really cool. This thing looks incredible. Never got released. So I don't think the movie did very well selling the toys. That's all I'm going to say. It's a really unfortunate thing. It's like literally it's like the coolest transforming thing we never got. I think this is kind of cooler than the Unicron that didn't get released from the 86 Transformer lineup. So yeah, the movie itself, kind of standard fare for the GoBots. Nothing that really stood out other than, hey, here's a whole bunch of other characters. So, we'll take a look at a little bit of the deep dive here. Just like we'll go over some brass tacks numbers here. The movie did about $500,000 throughout its run. Its domestic total is $1.3 million, $500,000 on the opening. Worldwide, yeah, so I'd say like $1.3 million. So inflation for $1986 is basically just like triple it. So you're looking at about what today would be a $4 million movie, a movie that made $4 million, but the budget being $3 million. If we adjust that for inflation, that's $9 million, which today would be a $5 million loss for the movie on a movie designed solely to sell merchandise. And given the fact that Fossil Lord was never released and the GoBots toy line in general did not last long after this movie, I'm willing to bet it wasn't pushing enough numbers to make up for that loss at the box office. Granted, Transformers the movie also wasn't a huge success at the box office, but it didn't flop like this one did, and it's considered a cult classic now because you could see genuine effort was put in. The animation quality is way higher. The voice cast is stacked. You have a killer soundtrack and a far larger scale to the movie story than we had ever gotten in Transformers. You know, in GoBots, they went to another planet, and that's about the extent of the daring new things they did. We're going to look at a few of the reviews. These are taken from Rotten Tomatoes, which is basically aggregated from all of the surviving newspaper reviews from back in the day. It didn't go well. It didn't go well. So, Charles Solomon from the New York Times said, unfortunately, the story, script, voice actors, and animation all prove less flexible than the toys. And the film never turns into entertainment. GoBots are more fun to play with than they are to watch. 1.5 out of 5 stars. Stephen Holden from the New York Times. True to Saturday morning cartoon tradition, GoBots is a jerky, semi-coherent series of chases, laser gun battles, and explosions with an allegorical plot about how no one can handle too much power. 2 out of 5 stars. And kind of like a slam against Saturday morning cartoons, sir. How dare you? And then TV Guide. So as poorly animated features go, this one ranks down there with the worst of them. 1 out of 5 stars. I would argue that even in the 80s, there were far worse animated features of the time. So let's not get that one crossed. So yeah, the sad part is the movie just seemed to fail on all fronts. It doesn't impress as a film. I reviewed it once upon a time for TJTV. That video will eventually make its way to my Patreon for everyone following there, waiting for access to it. And yeah, it ain't a great film. It ain't a great film. And it doesn't seem like it accomplished much of anything that it was supposed to. It didn't move toys. It didn't impress critics. And yeah, it's rough. So the legacy of the Rock Lords in general is something of a mix. Transformer fans in general do have fond memories of these. You will find plenty of Transformer fans who have a soft spot for the Rock Lords. Myself included. I do keep a modest collection of them myself, and every now and then I get in the mood to add a little bit to it. So, yeah. You will find fans out there, but obviously, as you can see from like the eBay listings, you have to be a rare figure. One of them that was only released in Europe, or one of the Jewel Lords, which were far rarer back in the original line, in order to get a valuable figure. Everything else, even the main characters like Magmar, you can get shipped to you for less than 20 bucks. The downside of these toys is they are not as made to wear as well as other GoBots are. Ironically, it's very common to find loose Rock Lords that are just floppy in their in their joints. So always buy these in person if you are so tempted or have the opportunity. Be very careful about buying them online. Ask first how the joints are before you put money down. But the other part is that Rock Lords actually do come with accessories. You remember those scepters that are like the whole thing in the movie? Rock Lords came with scepter weapons. The problem is they were all gold plastic and made very thin. So having surviving accessories with your Rock Lord is actually extremely rare. Which means the value of most of them are very, very low. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but it does mean that you can get your nostalgia for them fairly cheap. And they do still inspire today. We got the Armorizers thanks to the Rock Lords. You know, their lore is inspired by the actual Rock Lord storyline. Granted, I feel like this is the worst delivered of the Iser gimmicks, and I still wish they'd done more because the aesthetic is so different and interesting. And figures like Shard absolutely deserve to be used more than once. So that, my friends, is the legacy of the Rock Lords and the GoBots movie. Definitely doesn't leave the impact of the 86 Transformer movie, but it doesn't mean it left none whatsoever. So, for all those who actually got to see it, or know where you can watch it online and have access to it, let me know what you thought of it. Let me know what you thought of it, and do you remember it better than I do? Because, yeah, I am opinionated. But that's going to do it for me today. So, thank you everyone for watching. happy birthday to the Gobots, and the Rock Lords, I should say. And I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.